Question number 4. What is the present tense conjugation of mangiare, which means to eat? The present tense conjugation of mangiare is io mangio, tu mangi, lui, lei mangia, noi mangiamo, voi mangiate, loro mangiano. Notice that the infinitive stem of the verb is mangi, but that no extra I is added in the tu and noi forms. This happens with other are verbs whose stems end in I, like studiare and comunicare. Question number 5. What is the present tense conjugation of the regular ire verb dipingere, to paint?
The present tense conjugation of dipingere is as follows. Io dipingo, tu dipingi, lui, lei dipinge, noi dipingiamo, voi dipingete, loro dipingono. Notice that in the noi and voi forms, the stress is on the endings. Also, there are no spelling changes made to preserve the soft g sound.
Question number 6. What is the regular present tense conjugation of the regular ire verb dormire, to sleep? The present tense conjugation of dormire is io dormo, tu dormi, lui, lei dorme, noi dormiamo, voi dormite, loro dormono. Question number 7. What is the present tense conjugation of dimenticare, to forget? The conjugation of dimenticare is io dimentico, tu dimentichi, lui, lei dimentica, noi dimentichiamo, voi dimenticate, loro dimenticano. Notice the spelling changes in the tu and noi forms, which maintain the hard ki sound. Question number 8. What is the present tense conjugation of scrivere, to write? The present tense conjugation of scrivere is io scrivo, tu scrivi, lui, lei scrive, noi scriviamo, voi scrivete, loro scrivono. It's a regular ere verb. Question number 9. What is the present tense conjugation of capire, to understand? The conjugation of capire is as follows. Io capisco, tu capisci, lui, lei capisce, noi capiamo, voi capite, loro capiscono. This one's a little tricky, but some other ire verbs do conjugate this way, like finire and preferire. Question number 10. This one's extra special. Translate this weird sentence into English. Mangio, corro, dormo. The English translation of mangio, corro, dormo is I eat, I run, I sleep.
And I'm out of here. At least for now. It's the end of Quiz 2.
Part 3. Irregular verbs.
Calling a verb irregular really means that it doesn't follow the normal pattern of conjugation. The first Italian verbs you ever learned in the lively world of Italian, the basics, were irregular verbs, avere and essere.
Irregulars don't just take the infinitive stem and add endings. Some irregulars have a different stem and some have different endings. You'll learn the peculiarities as we go.
Section A. Irregular are verbs.
There are 4 common irregular are verbs. They are stare, to stay, dare, to give, fare, to do or to make, and andare, to go. Even though these verbs are irregular, they aren't completely random. Look at them together and you will see that the conjugations are very similar.
Here's how stare conjugates.
Sto, stai, sta, stiamo, state, stanno. As we said, stare is the verb that roughly means to stay. It's used in a bunch of very common expressions. You've already learned the most important one. How are you? Come stai? Where the tu and lei forms of stare are used. You also used a form of stare when you answered, sto bene.
To say that someone is not well, use stare and the word male. It means badly.
Come stai?
Sto male.
Stare is a very useful verb. It can also be used to form the expressions to pay attention and to keep quiet. Shh.
Unlike the stare expressions with the adverbs bene and male, these expressions use adjectives which must agree with the subject. The words attento and zitto will change to agree with the subject of each sentence. Let's take a look at some examples.
Stai attento.
Sto attento.
Bene.
This would be different if the doctor was telling a female patient to pay attention. The scene would go like this.
Stai attenta.
Sto attenta.
Attento and zitto are adjectives. That means, like all other adjectives, you have to adjust the endings to match the subject of the sentence. Remember, adjectives don't have their own gender or number. They assume the traits of the noun.
Stare zitto, to keep quiet.
I'm trying to think over here.
Excuse me. Stare zitto adjusts in the same way.
Molti studenti non stanno zitti. Notice the form of zitto was masculine plural, zitti, because the subject, molti studenti, is plural. We use masculine plural when the subject is mixed, male and female.
You probably have a good understanding of your first irregular are verb stare. It's conjugated sto, stai, sta, stiamo, state, stanno. There are 4 common expressions where stare is used.
Now on to our next irregular are verb, dare, which means to give. Dare is conjugated almost exactly like stare. Let's check it out.
Dare, do, dai, da, diamo, date, danno.
Here are some common expressions with dare.
Dare un esame is to take an exam. Dare una mano is to help. Dare la mano is to shake hands. Dare fastidio is to bother.
Let's go through the conjugation of stare and dare one more time.
Stare, sto, stai, sta, stiamo, state, stanno. Dare, do, dai, da, diamo, date, danno.
Next, let's look at the irregular are verb fare. It means to do or to make. It's a strange one.
Here's the conjugation. Faccio, fai, fa, facciamo, fate, fanno. Actually, this one is really kind of wacky. Faccio? That sounds different than any of the verbs we've learned. Let's go over this one again to make sure you've got it.
Faccio, fai, fa, facciamo, fate, fanno.
Here are some common expressions with the irregular are verb fare. Fare is one of these utilitarian verbs that has some common expressions that use it.
Fare una domanda means
to ask a question.
Fare una foto means
to take a photo.
And fare male means
to hurt, be bad for.
Fare colazione,
to eat breakfast.
And fare la doccia,
to shower.
Some of these expressions may seem a little bit strange to you. I mean, come on. It couldn't possibly feel natural to say that you do a photo, but you'll get used to it. You have to memorize these uses of fare.
Luigi non fa molte domande in classe. Le nuove scarpe mi fanno male. Questi studenti fanno sempre attenzione.
La zia Maria fa una foto dei bambini.
Our last irregular are verb is andare. Andare is the Italian verb for to go.
Let's go.
Where now?
Double gelato time.
Anyway, we'll check out the conjugation of andare, and then we'll talk about how it's used. Andare's conjugation is a little weird. The first letter in 4 of the forms changes to a V. That's just the way it is.
Andiamo!
All right already.
Here's the conjugation for andare.
Vado, vai, va. Andiamo, andate, vanno.
Andare simply means to go. It can be used before another verb in the infinitive to mean to go to do something.
In English, we do this all the time. I'm going to wash the dog. I'm going to take out the trash. However, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do it right then. It means we're going to do it later. The difference between English and Italian is that Italian is literal. It means I'm going there physically to do it, not just I will do it. So in Italian, you can't say using andare, I'm going to read that book right now, because you aren't going anywhere. But you could say with andare, I'm going to study in Italy next year. The Italian andare a means to go to some other place to do something.
The formula is andare plus a plus verb infinitive. Vado a means I am on my way to now, or I will go somewhere later. When you use this construction, andare is conjugated normally, but the second verb stays in its infinitive form. Check out these examples.
Dove andiamo a ballare?
Quando vai a comprare le scarpe nuove?
Let's move on to some vocabulary before we learn the second use of andare.
You'll notice that all this vocabulary has something in common. It's your siesta to get you from here to there. Transportation vocab.
I wish we had some transportation out of here.
Siesta time. Vocabolario trasporto.
Macchina, car. Treno, train. Bicicletta, bike, or bici for short.
Aeroplano.
Airplane, or
Aereo.
for short. Piedi, feet. Barca, boat.
Now that you have this new vocabulary, we're going to teach you how to use it. If you're trying to use andare with a means of transportation, it's simple. It's a form of andare plus in, and then the mode of transportation, car, train, bus, etc., except for feet. That's a piedi.
It's pretty self-explanatory, but we made a chart of the most common ways you'll need to let someone know how you got from here to there.
Andare in macchina is to go by car. Andare in treno is to go by train. Andare in bicicletta is to ride a bike. Andare in aeroplano is to go by plane. Andare a piedi is to go on foot. Andare in barca is to go by boat.
Let's practice a few times.
Andiamo in macchina, non a piedi.
Quando vado in Europa, vado in aeroplano.
And that's andare for you. Pretty useful verb.
There are 3 important irregular ere verbs to know.
Section B, irregular ere verbs. You're used to this conjugation stuff by now, so we'll go through the conjugations for volere, potere, and dovere pretty quickly. If this section seems a little rushed, don't worry. The conjugations are what you need to learn. These verb uses are much more straightforward than the are irregular verbs.
Here's volere, to want. Voglio, vuoi, vuole, vogliamo, volete, vogliono.
Volere's conjugation is a little weird. Where did those G's come from anyway? They make things a little interesting. Finally, you get to pronounce the Italian gli.
Let's practice. Check out a few forms of volere in use.
Voglio una macchina nuova. Non vuoi ballare con me?
Volere can be used with a noun or can be followed directly by another verb, which always stays in the infinitive.
On to potere. Potere is the verb that means to be able to, can, and may.
Here's potere, to be able to. Posso, puoi, può. Possiamo, potete, possono. Potere and volere follow similar patterns of conjugation. Volere has that random gli thrown into the io, noi, and loro forms. Potere has random double s's in the same forms. Check out an example of potere in action.
Lucia non può andare in classe perché sta male.
That basically means Lucia is not able to go to class because she is feeling bad.
Now, one thing to notice about potere is that it's always followed by another verb in its infinitive form. It makes sense. If the verb means to be able to, you need to know what the subject is able to do.
Dovere is our last irregular ere verb. It means to have to or must. It also means to owe. Its conjugation is pretty random. Your best bet is to memorize it. As always, pay attention to where the stress is. Dovere. Devo, devi, deve, dobbiamo, dovete, devono. When dovere is used with the meaning to have to or to be obligated to, it is always followed by another verb in the infinitive form. The infinitive verb tells us what it is you have to do.
Dovere can also be used to mean to owe. When used to mean to owe, dovere will be followed by a noun. To owe what? Check out an example of dovere with this use.
Giancarlo deve $100 a Michele.
So let's sum up irregulars. Irregular Italian verbs don't follow a predictable pattern of conjugation like the regular verbs. To learn the irregulars, you're going to have to memorize the forms of each irregular verb. We covered 4 of the most common irregular ARE verbs: stare, to stay, dare, to give, fare, to do, and andare, to go. On top of memorizing the forms of each verb, remember that stare is commonly used with adverbs bene and male, and the adjectives attento and zitto. Volere, to want, potere, to be able to, can or may, and dovere, to have to, must, or to owe, are 3 very common irregular ERE verbs. Don't let these verbs fool you. They may be irregular, but you'll use them a lot, so they're worth learning.
Ho le scarpe nuove!
Vedo che hai le scarpe nuove.
Os aiuta quando decido quale scarpe comprare.
Questo è Os? Adesso capisco. Forte, bello, intelligente.
Non devo fare altre compere? Adesso vado a mangiare. Vuoi venire?
Certo, guidiamo?
No, io e Os preferiamo andare a piedi. Va bene? Andiamo!
On to our final topics of the program.
Part 4. Definite article, interrogatives, and cognates.
Let's start with the definite article. Get excited. The hard stuff is over. In the final part of the program, you'll learn to use Italian definite articles, how to ask a few questions. We even give you a key to unlock hundreds of cognates. Capisci?
Section A, the definite article.
Just like in English, Italian has 2 kinds of articles, definite and indefinite. Now, we've already learned about the indefinite article. Let's take a look at the definite.
In English, the definite article is simply the word the. But when we use it in Italian, we have to choose between a bunch of different forms, since it has to agree with both the gender of the noun it's describing, as well as whether the noun is singular or plural.
Wait a second. This newspaper's in English.
Let me see.
Yeah.
So those are numbers. Numbers are Italian.
Let's review some things about the indefinite article. It will come in handy in a minute. The 4 forms of the indefinite article, uno, un, una, and un apostrophe, are the Italian equivalent of the English a or an. You choose the correct form of the indefinite article depending on gender, number, and the sound that immediately follows it. Finally, the indefinite article can only be used with singular nouns. Okay, on to the definite article.
First, let's look at the singular forms of the definite article.
The singular definite article has 4 forms: il, lo, l apostrophe, and la. Il and lo are used with masculine nouns, and la is used with feminine nouns. L apostrophe does double duty and is used with both masculine and feminine nouns. Now let's get more specific.
We said the definite articles il, lo, and l apostrophe are used with masculine nouns. Il is used before words beginning with any consonant except Z or S consonant combo. Lo is used before words beginning with Z or S consonant combo. And L apostrophe is used before all words that begin with a vowel. The definite articles L apostrophe and la are used with feminine nouns. L apostrophe before words beginning with vowels, same as masculine. La is used before words that begin with a consonant.
This should be easy for you. Pretty much the same rules apply to definite articles as they do indefinite articles.
You use the same basic criteria to decide which definite article to use. Use the same gender as the noun. Then look at the first letter of the word that follows the article.
For masculine, if the definite article is used before words beginning with any other consonant but Z or an S consonant combo, use the definite article il. But if the definite article is used before a word that begins with Z or an S consonant combo, use lo. Before a vowel, use L apostrophe and form a contraction with the word.
Feminine nouns are much easier. As we said, the definite article, whether masculine or feminine, is always L apostrophe before a vowel. For feminine nouns, the article to use before a consonant is la.
Take a look at some definite articles in action. To help us, we'll use the singular nouns that we learned earlier in this program. Let's start with our masculine singular nouns. For masculine nouns, if the upcoming sound is anything but Z, S plus a consonant, or a vowel, the definite article will be il.
Il treno, the train. Il caffè, the cafe. Il negozio, the store. Il ragazzo, the boy.
Now, we just said that lo is used before words that start with an S plus a consonant or a Z. It is used before three of our nouns: lo sport, the sport, lo studente, the student, and lo zaino, the backpack.
But suppose you're talking about the new student or the new backpack.
Then you'd have to use il nuovo studente, il nuovo zaino. Why? Because now the definite article comes right before an N. It's still masculine singular to match the noun, but it's not followed by Z or S plus a consonant.
And finally, if the noun is masculine before any word that begins with a vowel, the definite article is L apostrophe. The masculine noun with L apostrophe is said l'ospedale, the hospital, or l'abito, the suit. And if it's the new suit, say il nuovo abito, because your definite article isn't right before a vowel.
When the noun is feminine singular, use la before consonants and L apostrophe before vowels.
Here are our feminine nouns. We have three feminine nouns that start with vowels: amica, idea, and università. You know L apostrophe is the definite article used before any word beginning with a vowel. L'amica, the female friend, and l'idea, the idea, and l'università, the university. But the good idea is la buon'idea. The new university is la nuova università.
As we said, the indefinite articles are only used with singular nouns. The definite articles are used with both singular and plural nouns. So far, you've just learned the singular definite articles. Let's take a minute and check out a chart describing plural definite articles. We'll start with the masculine nouns.
If lo or L apostrophe was used with masculine singular nouns, it will be gli in the plural. If il was used, it will be I in the plural.
Let's make all our nouns plural and read through them with their definite articles. I treni, I caffè, I negozi, I ragazzi, gli sport, gli studenti, gli zaini, gli ospedali, gli alberghi.
The definite article that accompanies feminine plural nouns is super easy. It's always le, always. That's right, there's just one form for all feminine plural nouns, no matter what the next word starts with.
Let's read through our feminine nouns with the definite articles.
Le amiche, le biblioteche, le chiese, le idee, le lezioni, le macchine, le ragazze.
You get the picture. Every feminine plural noun gets the definite article le.
So that's it for definite articles. Let's review what we've learned one more time before we move on.
The singular definite article has 4 forms: il, lo, l'apostrophe, and la. Il and lo are used with masculine nouns, and la is used with feminine nouns. L'apostrophe does double duty and is used with both masculine and feminine nouns.
If lo or l'apostrophe was used with masculine singular nouns, it will be li in the plural. If il was used, I will be used in the plural. There's just one form for all feminine plural nouns, no matter what the next word starts with. It's le.
Let's move on to interrogatives. What? Interrogatives are the words you hear every day, like who, what, when, where, and why. Question words.
Section B, interrogatives. Let's take a quick siesta to learn the vocabulary for this section. It's all about questions.
Chi, who, che, what, quando, when, dove, where, perché, why, come, how, quanto, how much, and quanti, how many.
There are a few things to know about asking questions in Italian.
Unlike English, one way to ask a question is to simply raise your pitch at the end of a sentence, without changing the word order at all. We don't generally do this in English. We don't say, Chris is home, or you receive many letters. English changes the words slightly, but Italian doesn't need to.
You speak Italian. Parli Italiano. Do you speak Italian? Parli Italiano. There are lots of students. Ci sono molti studenti. Are there lots of students? Ci sono molti studenti.
The second thing you need to know is that changing word order in a sentence can create a question. The subject can be moved to the end of a sentence to ask a question.
Vai al negozio tu?
Going to the store, are you? That sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? But that's how you might say it. Generally, we don't do this in English, but it's very common in Italian.
And the third thing you need to know is how to use those question words we learned in our siesta. It's all pretty straightforward. We'll give you lots of examples. The only weird thing is that dove, where, and come, how, contract before an E. Get ready for some of the most basic and important questions using our interrogatives.
E dove vai?
Come stai?
Quando mangiamo?
Che cosa fai?
Perché mi segue?
Quanto costa?
Make a note. You can negate interrogatives the same way you do statements.
Non parli Italiano?
Non ci sono molti cantanti.
There are 3 basic ways to ask a question in Italian. First, you can simply keep the word order the same and raise the tone of your voice at the end of the sentence. Second, you can change the word order. Or third, you can use the helpful interrogative words like che, dove, perché, quanto, and come. To make a question negative, simply place the word non before the verb.
The last thing we have to cover is cognates. Cognates are words in two languages that are really similar. If you learn to use them early, it will add hundreds of words to your vocabulary, making Italian much easier to learn. Poof, an instant vocabulary.
Section C, cognates.
Now it's time to teach you the tricks of the trade. We're going to let you in on the insider's informazione. You see, Italian and English share lots of words.
Geloso. Famoso.
Now, these similar words are called cognates. And we're going to give you the insider scoop so that when you plan your beautiful trip to Italy, you'll catch on to everything as quickly as we did.
If you master the pattern of cognates, you will turbocharge your Italian vocabulary. We'll show you how.
Now, in the siestas, we have tried to give you the useful vocabulary you need to succeed in Italian. Now it's time to unlock the Italian you already know. You just don't know that you know, if you know what I mean. You know. Okay, we're talking about cognates. They're the words that look similar in two languages and mean the same thing. Now we're going to give you the key to decode tons of cognates.
Many common English words require only small changes in pronunciation and spelling to qualify as real Italian words. Take a look.
In the first column, we have common endings for English words. In the second column, we have the Italian endings that commonly replace the English endings. Poof, we have an Italian word. We'll show you how it works in a second. Oh, the wonder of cognates. If you learn these common transformations, you'll learn to love cognates. Your vocabulary will keep growing and growing and growing. Let's go through these common endings one at a time.
We have a lot of words that end in T-I-O-N in English. Two common words are information and portion. These words are cognates in Italian.
Think of them as cousins in the two languages. They have a common relative, so the first part of the word stays the same, but takes a different ending. The T-I-O-N English ending turns into a Z-I-O-N-E.
Information.
Informazione.